Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
A Time for Truth show is sponsored by the Office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fears.
Welcome back to A Time for Truth show. And as promised, we have part 2 of this very special episode with Tiny Frampton and the TBS New Direction. And really how to get and change things in your life. Real life. Not imaginary, not a movie. You know, movies are easy. But real life, blood, sweat, and tears, real bleeding, real action. And that's what we want to hear, because our world, especially New York City, we want real solutions. We want things that actually work, workable solutions. So if you show the pictures for a minute, engineer, let's put, Tiny's pictures back up on the screen. There you see him, Mr. Frampton. He's the founder of TBS New Direction. Let's go on to the next picture. And here you see him with his group. And at the center, you see them with Massimo Perino, a tremendous humanitarian activist. Guy never stops. There he is. And there's a jacket that they awarded to Mr. Hubbard for this Way to Happiness program. Mr. Perino holding the plaque. And here you see Tiny with some of his group at that event. Let's go to the next picture. And, we'll continue. Here you go. Here's his booklet that he's dedicated to helping the community. A common sense guide that we're going to go into a little bit more in this program. And here you go again with another member of his group. He's very, very, very involved with his group, with all the members. And another here. And then soon you'll see a very beautiful picture where again his group in an award ceremony. There you go. Beautiful picture. And Victor, let's bring Tiny up live on the screen. And here we go. Thank you so much. And I want to bid a welcome back to Tiny to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me back again. Thank you.
So, we want to continue where we left off. And we were talking about your early life, in the Harlem, the Bronx, the Black Spades. And, you turn your life around so tremendously. But I want to ask you, because you actually went through a period that wasn't the best, and you ended up in prison a few times. So let's start there, and then what was that impact that it had on your life?
Well, I went to prison, and in the 70s, and when I came home, and when I came back home, the gangs were practically gone. There was a new era. It was called the Cruise, and I got involved with a young man by the name of Grandmaster Flash. My godmother, who was a public servant at that time, you understand, introduced me to him, and I got involved with him. I was home. I was doing different things, and This is before hip hop began. This is when they were doing street parties in the park. You understand, and things like that. And this is before Grandmaster Flash, you understand, even became famous to who he is today. He is known as one of the pioneers of hip hop. I was his bodyguard for a while. And I stayed with him. Then I left him alone, and then I went on and did the other things in life. And then, like I said, I woke up one day and I just started doing. It was too much, a lot of violence and stuff going on, and I just got involved and took myself back to school. And then I just wanted to do things different. This is why I created TBS New Direction. I wanted to bring back what our elders put together from the beginning, help the community. There was a lot going on, and we needed to get out there and help our youth. We needed boots on the ground. I had the opportunity to name ourselves like some of the Cure Violence names or different names, but I said to myself, what better way to help than to bring back what took me to the street,
Right.
and that was the Black Spades, and I got involved. I created TBS New Direction. I started hosting the public safety dinners. I started dealing. One of the things that I realized is that when you say you the village, you got to be a part of the village. You can't leave no one out. You can't leave the police. You can't leave the politicians. You can't leave, you understand, the black community, the white community. You can't leave no one out, because the village is everyone. Now, I advocate for my race, the black community, but I also advocate for the human race, because when I say that, the village, everybody's a part of that village. But you know what? During that time of putting these public safety dinners together, I met a young man. His name was Reverend Cleveland Polite. I met this brother. He was a part of the Church of Scientology. Now, at that time, I knew a lot of brothers and sisters that didn't like Scientology, and everybody was trying to keep me away from Scientology, from one thing or another. No one knew anything specifically except for what they might have read or what was told to them. But I met I read Reverend Cleveland Polite, and he was amazing. He was a gentle brother, and he sat down. He took me, we sat down. We dealt with everything. You understand? Then I met another brother by the name of Keel Rose. He was, you understand, he was very heavy on blackness, but he was a part of Scientology. And dealing with these two brothers, you understand, they said, keep your mind open. Do what you feel is right, but keep your mind open. I was getting a lot of flashbacks about don't deal with Scientology, don't deal with this, but I kept my mind open, and I got involved. What I got involved with was their Crimenon program, their drug-free program, you understand, or their mental health program, you understand, and especially the way to happiness, because it's like, I started reading this booklet here on the way to happiness, and I kept saying to myself, how is it that this brother here that's dead now, Ron L. Hubbard,
Right.
he came up with these fabulous ideas on how people should deal with each other. This book has nothing to do with politics or religion.
No.
It deals with common sense. And I was really, truly amazed. And so I said to certain people, Miss Suzanne and other people, Maximo in Scientology, I would like to become an ambassador. And this is how right now I have my name on this booklet, and to become ambassador to speak on the way to happiness, because it's nothing but common sense. It's sense that we have lost. It brings back certain perspectives that we have truly lost, to where we need to bring certain things back into just how we respect people, how we deal with people, how we treat each other, how we talk to our mothers. This book covers a wide range of nothing but respect, no religion. So this is why I stayed with Scientology. I'm not a Scientologist, but I do believe, because I participated not only with the Way to Happiness as an ambassador, but I also participate with the Criminal. You understand? I also participate with the drug-free world. There's a lot of things that they are doing. And the only thing I can tell people is that when they say don't bother, hey, tell yourself, learn. Go in there and see what's going on. I'm not in bed with them. I don't know the inner and outs of what's going on, but I do know that there's programs in Scientology that's marvelous and magnificent and making headway. You understand? And right now, I take this book with me everywhere I go, and I give it out. I don't sell it. I give it out to people. And all I ask is that when I give it to you, read it and give it to someone else.
Yeah, well, you know what I was going to say is it's very interesting, because I was looking over the book, and at the beginning of your book here, it's very beautiful. It says, why I gave you this book. And I think I know it's going to impact on you. I know it impacted on me. It says, your survival is important to me. And then I was reading on this next page that, you know, trying to survive in a chaotic, dishonest, and generally immoral society is difficult, you know. And I give you a lot of credit, because, you know, a lot of people I found as a surgeon of 44 years, you know, we tend, and I'm going to include this myself, you know, we tend to get angry at people and point fingers at people. And this is beautiful, because you're actually doing something. What was it inside of you that led you to want to take a stand and do something for the community?
One thing I never forgot is the principles that my mother gave me. Even though I was part of a gang and I did what I had to do to survive and I did to make us stronger, I always had humanity in my heart. And as we come along, and as our children started to kill each other, and things are going chaos, then we came into the crack epidemic, and you know, and things like that. It was just my desire to do better. You can't ask to do better unless you do better. And why should I ask you to do better if I'm not doing better? So I decided to put my boots on the ground, and I decided to just go out and make a change, because everybody makes changes in their different ways. But I want you to understand, before I started to make changes, I went left before I came right. I was out on them streets. I was with the drugs. I was taking drugs. I was doing this. I was doing that. I did it for a hell of a lot of our time, a long time, before I said to myself, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And I've always kept my mother in my heart, but I was doing crazy things. But I thank God that I kept it in my heart, because when I decided to do better, when I decided I wanted to get out there and put the boots on the ground to make a difference, that I had a little education coming from my mother. I had my mother's heart that still was inside of me. I had morals and principles, which I always kept, no matter what. There's a lot of brothers and sisters in the gangs. We're part of these gangs because we believe in what we do, but we still keep the pride and principles in us. Now, when do we use it? Some of us live long enough to use it. Some of us don't live long enough to use it. I thank God that I was able to live long enough to bring back what my mother put in me. And I want you to understand, the Spades, my mother taught me to understand relationship and family, brothers and sisters, and how to take it. But the Spades made a man out of us. We became brothers in arms. We became brothers of the street. They made men. Where I was already a man that knew how to take care of family, now they taught me how do we stand together, fight together, eat together, love together, and stay together. Those concepts are gone today. I come from an era where we all bonded together, whether it was right or wrong. Today, that bond is no longer. You and I were back in the days, we knew what your record was like. We knew what you went to jail for. Now brothers and sisters are together. They don't even know who's the pedophile standing next to them. They don't even know what's going on. All they know is that they just want to be a part of something. And it's not bad to be a part of something. good, some bad, but we don't want to keep doing bad. We want to keep doing good. And this is why I brought TBS New Direction. Black Spades in a new direction to bring back what our elders tried to set forth, you understand? Nothing but goodness. And today, we're making a difference. A lot of my brothers and sisters don't see eye to eye on what I see with like Scientology or this or that. But you know what? I see it. And I bring forth the goodness that everybody brings to the table. Because I tell you, when you talk about it takes a village, then you got to be ready to say the village, black, white, Jews, Gentiles, Muslims. You got to say that the village is everyone. Because a lot of us can make it, but can we make it by ourselves without the village being one? And that's what we need. We need the village to come back together because it's the village that kept us together. But today, there's no village. Everybody says the hood, the ghetto. I didn't grow up in that. We all knew that we lived in ghettos, but I didn't grow up in the ghetto. I didn't grow up in the hood. I grew up in a community where each one teach one and each one looked after everyone. Today we close our eyes. So that's why I brought TBS New Direction back, the Black Spades back in a new direction. You understand, to make a difference. And today we make difference. Today we are a community-based 501 organization group. We deal with all different organizations, Scientologies, we deal with everybody. We deal with everybody. I have done more things in my life today that in the last 2 years that I've probably done in the whole 69 years of me living. Speaking at the UN, speaking, you understand, the diplomats things, doing this, doing that. And it's an honor to be able and speak on L. Ron Hubbard. I've never met the man, but you know what though? Every time I talk, it seems like I know him, not personally, but I could feel him because I haven't seen anything that I deal with within Scientology that doesn't make sense.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's something in the book that you brought tonight that I think would be good in this war that's going on, in so many wars. Very interesting. He calls it Precept 18, respect religious beliefs of others. Because like you said, we all have different beliefs. Mm-hmm. We all have different creeds, origins. And if you look at it and ask yourself as you're watching this show, each one of us thinks we're right. That's wonderful, but it creates a dilemma. Because you put 5 of us in a room and we all think we're right and we're all different origins, obviously it can't work. So very interesting, this word respect. Because if we put the same 5 who know that they're right, but they would respect the other 4's ability to be right, and that 5th one respected the other 4's ability to be right. So we respected each other. This is very interesting. I just want to read you something that he says is that tolerance is a good cornerstone on which to build human relationships. When one views the slaughter and suffering caused by religious intolerance down the history of man, and I'm thinking of the Crusades and so many different episodes where we killed each other over God thing, and I'm thinking, what God would ever want this, no matter what we would call him? I don't think any. That if we look at all that slaughter and into modern times, one can see that intolerance is a very non-survival activity. And you know what? Just this one precept here, I see so many. There's another one here that he writes about, take care of your own area.
There's so many difference. You understand? It's like be competent. You understand? It's like also how do you deal with the police? How do you respect the police? How do you get the police to respect you? Support government, design and run for all of the people. You understand? It's like a book that's been designed to deal with all aspects of life out of respect. Because see, I ain't got to like you. Today, when I was younger, I didn't like white folks because of how they treated us. So I did everything in my power to make them angry. But today, I still don't like white folks or no folks on how they treat us or each other. But you know what you do? You give people respect because everybody don't have the same views.
Right.
Everybody don't have the same religion. But I've learned going to prison, I've learned on the street that regardless of what you believe in, if you don't like it, walk away. You don't sit there and argue. You don't sit there and say who's right and who's wrong, because there's so many different people and so many different religions and so many different ways of life. Who knows who's right and who's wrong? You just respect each and every individual for what they believe in, long as it ain't about killing nobody, because we ain't gonna respect that.
No.
You understand? We're not gonna respect that, and we're not gonna tolerate that.
No.
But you know what though? If you want to believe in a fork, then say, okay, I'm happy for you, brother. I want to believe in a loaf of bread. I'm happy for you, brother. We just got to learn to respect each other for what they believe in, long as it's not about harming anyone or any child. So I've learned to respect people, and if I don't like it, I leave it alone. I won't engage in a conversation. Why engage in a conversation that's going to take you nowhere but discomfort? So you leave things alone. And you know what you do? Go on your own and learn on your own what they're talking about. And this is what I do today. I bring people to the table, and you understand? And I bring L. Ron Hubbard with me, and I give this booklet to everybody. I don't force it on them. I just say, hey, read this. It's not about religion. It's not about who you like and who you don't like. It's all about respect, how to treat each other as human beings. And once we can learn to treat each other as human beings, we can learn to do better, because we got a lot going on. You mentioned the wars. I don't get into all that politics, but we got a lot. Them wars gonna carry on over there, and they might finish over here.
That's right.
So we need to, you understand, we need to teach people. We need to teach people in these wars how to respect each other.
That's right.
We need to teach people this. We need to teach people that. But the bottom line, we need to teach ourselves first. Once we teach ourselves first the value of life, the value of human life, and the value of respect, then we can teach others.
Absolutely. You know, that's a profound statement, because, you know, as a doctor, I marvel at really the miracle of life. You know, we don't really pay attention to it. We take it for granted. But you're so right. You know, every morning the sun comes up, the flowers bloom, the trees are blooming. During the winter time, you don't even see them. You think, well, maybe they're gone forever.
Yeah.
And somehow they come back every spring, right?
That's right.
It's a miracle.
That's
It's a total
right.
miracle.
Total blooming.
Right.
Where you been hiding.
Right.
But they come to life, and they bring life.
And these lights that we have in the studio, these cameras that are filming us, the people who made these clothes for us, you know, it's amazing how humanity, which brings me to a question for you, because New York City is like the example for the world. What would you like New York City to do? What message would you like to send to all the boroughs, to all the different ethnicities, religions, races, creeds? What would you like to see in New York City in 2025 and beyond?
Simple words: love, peace, and happiness. But love, peace, and happiness can only come for when one tries to accomplish it. You see, as a black man, I can't sit down and wait for nobody else to do for me. I have to get out there and do for myself. I have to satisfy myself. I have to satisfy my family. Then I can satisfy somebody else. As long as we sit around and wait for other people to give us, to do for us, we're never going to have happiness and love and peace in our heart. We'll have a little love in our heart because we're getting something for free, but we won't be totally happy. I would love to see the world come together, but first of all, I want to see my people come together. When my people can come together, when my house can come together, then the next house can come together. Until we all put our own house in order, we'll never see love, peace, and happiness. We all have to put our own house in order. And I'm talking about people. I'm talking about religion. I'm talking about cultures. Then we can sit down at the table and have a meal together. You understand? But I would love to see I'm going to call them OGs, because I'm considered an OG because of my age. I would love to see the OGs come out of retirement, not to fight, because I got arthritis. I can't fight nobody, but I can talk. I'm not out on those streets fighting and arguing. I'm out on those streets talking. I'm out on those streets when a brother needs, when a young man or older brother come from jail or a young guy needs something, where to lead them to. A drug program. I got Scientologists. I got this. We understand programs. You understand, I deal with a lot of different programs that provide jobs. We act for justice. We act for change. We act environmental justice. We deal with them where they train people, you understand, for all different kinds of constructions, the panels, you understand, light panels. I deal with brothers.
Job
creation, job training, you understand?
You know, Tanya, I'm sorry to interject here, but makes so much sense, because when you give a man or a woman their own ability to take care of themselves, you give them a great gift, because they're independent now. They're free.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because in my era, we went to school. We had the wood shop. We had the home. I took home economics. We had the car shop. We had the electric shop. All those different shops that were free when we was in high school are gone. They're gone. Now you're charging millions of dollars for kids that don't have it to go to these programs. And there's some programs that give it to them for free. You might give 25 kids this program for free, but what about the other 100,000? But we had them in the schools. They took them away.
We got to put them back.
We got to put them back in the schools. We got to open back up our centers. The police department is I'm learning to deal with them. They're good. They got a very hard and difficult job. Now I realize that as I'm older. But we need more than the PAL, because our kids can't expand out in different neighborhoods and different areas like they used to. So we need our community centers back open. We need our community centers in each of the neighborhoods, each of the nicer houses back open to where our kids can come and play. There's so much we need, but just so little we receive. But if we as a people, no matter what the race, no matter what the religion, come together, we can demand everything we need. Because just like we out here today fighting for the immigrants, that we need to be out here fighting for a whole lot of stuff.
Our own kids.
First of all, our own kids. Second of all, the spaces for our kids to come back in our own communities. We need to be on these streets, not rioting, because rioting gets you nothing. So please forgive me. I didn't mean to say riot. But we need to be out on these streets advocating for our kids, advocating for the different community-based centers. A lot of these kill violence programs, they need to advocate for it, because the money that they get, they need to open up these community centers in their neighborhoods. Back open these centers. And they go in, the kill violence go in and have the jobs, and they can put the programs, just like they create new buildings and programs.
Production, right? Production.
We don't need new buildings and programs. We got a whole lot of spaces that's not being occupied where our kids can go into in their own neighborhood.
Absolutely.
And our kill violence, you understand, and our politicians.
Education.
It's education.
Education.
It's training.
Right.
We can do all that in the spaces. I know right there in the South Bronx, we got a whole bunch of Millbrook, Mott Haven, Patterson, Jackson, Moore, Patanzas, and a lot of stuff is not open. You got all these different projects in one area.
Well, you know what? You're a darn good leader. I'm glad I had you on the show.
Listen, and I'm so happy to be in. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And like I'm only a leader because I try to lead by example, and I try to do my best to put forth my best efforts, and I try to take what I learned from the past to apply it to the future. And one thing I'm going to say, you understand, before we begin to leave all this in the show, we can't look at our kids how we were growing up. We have to look at them as they are today, because the day is 100 times different from yesterday. Because we done had COVID, we done had a crack epidemic, we done had so many things that has come in the midst of our younger generation today, moving forward today, that it's a whole new different world. And we gotta stop saying, well, we're not gonna stop saying what it was like for us, but we got to look at what they got and we got to try to help them out. Because I tell you, we got to take back our rights as parents. We got to take back our rights as parents and know where our kids is and not being afraid to step to them and tell them what's right, what's wrong. But we got so many parents out there that's abusive to their kids that they make it hard on the good parent to discipline their kid.
Well, you know what, Mr. Frampton? It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
And I thank you for having me.
And unfortunately, I tell you what, but like all the shows are unbelievable and wonderful and very productive, we've run out of time. I know you're going to want me to have them back, and I will. For this episode, unfortunately, we got to call it to an end. But it's been a pleasure having you.
And thank you, Dr. Ben, for having me.
I thank you for this book and putting this on the screen so people realize about this book. And more importantly, I think what's important here is your example, that you're a man of action. And I think when you watch this show, let's take home his example. Not just words, but action. He has a whole dinner that he puts out for the community that he actually pays for himself and his organization, TBS New Direction. Let's take a new direction. Let's put New York City out there. We're the example for the world. Let's not keep waiting. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next episode of A Time for Truth show. Have a very good night.
This show was sponsored by A Time for Truth Foundation Incorporated as a community service.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet